What's going on, people? Good morning. Welcome to United View. Welcome back to the Transfer View. Happy Monday. Hopefully, your nation has played already in the Euros. If they have, and you've got a W, shout out you. You know what I mean? Shout out the Netherlands. Shout out Wout. How about that? Shout out
Flex, it's my
Wout.
moment
Didn't
of the
rehearse
tournament.
it.
It's my moment. It's my moment of the tournament
Unbelievable.
so far. I went mental.
Of course, has to be. Of course, brilliant. Bring him back, mate. United cult hero. We need people who understand big moments, big games, and come through clutch. That's how I want to build my team. Big characters. Bring back Wout.
Yes.
Christian Eriksen. Wow. If you're Danish, and just if you're a lover of football, that's just what you want to see. What was it? 1,100 days to the day.
1,100 days. Absolutely. Yeah.
Unbelievable story. Absolutely brilliant. Obviously, England. Jude Bellingham is him. The Gareth Southgate saviour. Owen was very happy with England's performance. Owen said, listen, it's just the beginning of the tournament. It's all about winning your game and getting your 3 points and keeping a clean sheet, with some people making their debut. So Owen was very, very happy about that. Cobby made his debut as well. His dad got to see him, which was lovely. So there's so much about the Euros and your team. So big up to everybody. Italy, Spain as well. You know, those types of teams. If you've got OW, big up to you and your country. If you haven't, better luck for the next game. But the biggest thing we are talking about, because this is United View, yes, it's Euro season, but I tell you what, Eric just decided, while the Euros is on, I'm just going to casually be a pundit and just drop some massive stuff. I'm just going to say massive stuff that really confirms a lot of stuff straight from the horse's mouth in his native language of Dutch. But wow. The best manager stays. I know they spoke to Tuchel. We've been speaking for ages. It did silence a lot of people who had perceptions of what they think may have been said. To hear Erik ten Hag come out and or read what Erik ten Hag has said, and if there's any Dutch people in the chat who saw it live or can translate, and you can sort of get the tone and the feel of how he said it, let us know. But wow, so we've got a lot to get into. Loads of quotes, loads of information, loads of stories. Smash it like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We've got 162 likes straight off. 79% of you in the chat that have said, yes, I have liked the video. 21% of you said doing it now. We have 788 of you watching, nearly 1,000 people watching live in the first 3 minutes. So you can tell already it's going to be a massive show, as it is every single Transfer View. Stan Curry comes straight through. Says, you know what? Before I even start the show, it's 9:07, 2 minutes into the show it was, he's become a member. Stan says, forget this, I'm in. I am in, because he knows what's good for him. So big up to you, Stan. Welcome to the UV family. Owen, over to you, because we have got a lot to get through.
Yeah, a lot to get into. You mentioned in my silence people. I'm not necessarily sure. I think it's dragged back up all of the stuff again. So Erik ten Hag, as you mentioned, was a pundit on Dutch television last night for the England game. And naturally, you couldn't arrive there and be like, let's just talk about only the England game. Let's not talk about anything else. He was asked about what's been going on the last couple of weeks. Now, this quote here that we begin with, he said, Manchester United disturbed my holiday. They suddenly stood at my doorstep. Again, and this is why you do have to be careful with social media, yeah? Because everyone disturb a holiday, cussing out the club. You go, I mean, I don't know. So I didn't see the interview per se, and I don't speak Dutch. I would assume a bit of sarcasm, maybe. They disturb, or things could be things could be misinterpreted or what have you. And he kind of actually does explain this a bit later on.
Or Owen, they just came to his hotel. They came to his villa,
well,
and they came to his door.
They were like the police. They just knocked on the door. Went,
I think Jim,
Mr. Ten Hag, you're staying.
I think they knocked his door. He goes suddenly as well, so he wasn't expecting it. It was sudden. He went downstairs to get a cup of tea, and the door went. It was Sir Jim. And Dave.
What do you reckon? Someone's at the door. Man United's here. What? But it carried on, and this was a big quote that got a lot of people talking. Flex, saying that he said, Manchester United have told me that they spoke with Thomas Tuchel, but they eventually came to the conclusion that they already have the best manager. Wow. Now we can go back to these quotes. We can. But what did you make of that one in particular?
That one there. Let me tell you that one there. Yeah. That one there is going to be one of the ones. You know, when something happens to the opposite teams, right? It's always the one of Ten Hag that gets clipped up. Errors come to an end. Vibe, yeah. That one there of they already spoke to Tuchel, then they realize they've already got the best manager. That there, I'm going to say when because I'm going to be optimistic. When we have a big win or we're going in the right direction or there was a really good performance or some good goals, or we put one of the big boys to the sword or whatever, yeah, that's going to resurface. That one's going to resurface because that's like him. I know we're saying like things can get misconstrued about, the door, coming to the door and that. That one there.
That one can't.
Yeah. That one there is, they told me they spoke to Thomas Tuchel. Naming names. Not, they said they spoke to other managers. They said they were doing due diligence. They informed me of the process of what they did, and I'm happy to stay. No. They told me they spoke to Tuchel. And then they realized they have the best manager. Me, Erik ten Hag. I'm the best. Like, it's a big statement. It's a big statement.
It is a big statement.
And I love it. And I love it. It shows confidence, man.
Absolutely. I mean, it goes... well, there's a couple of things with it, isn't there? There's one...
I could go against him,
that report that was up there going, Erik ten Hag's aware that Man United are talking to other managers. Well, he just said it himself. He's like, yeah, they told me. I don't know when they told him. That must be key. I don't know if they, show up at his door and IB for him, sit down and go, we've been talking to Thomas Tuchel. You'd be like, oh, thanks. Or if he was told earlier on in the process, or he's told with him from people in football, but at least he knew what was going on. The whole situation, it is just a bit bizarre, isn't it? I mean, you've got the Manchester United manager on television doing punditry for an international game, talking that he knew that his employer was actively interviewing other people.
It never happened in England.
And can name specifics. And he kind of touches on this a bit later on, but he can name specifics. And to be fair, well, there's two parts of it. Like you said, one part of it, you go, you're backing yourself. They said they got the best manager, and he should back himself. If he went, I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they stuck with me over Thomas Tuchel. That would be laughable. So you've got to back yourself.
To be honest, I was surprised.
Exactly. He's won Champions League. I've never done that. I've never done that before. He was never going to do that. But also, he's not necessarily lying in the sense of that's what the majority of fans, and certainly all the reports suggested that. Well, INEOS looked at the alternatives and they all went, no, I don't think that any of the alternatives are better than what we've got. So literally, in that regard, out of the bunch they were looking at, he was the best one. So INEOS stuck with the best manager out of the people they're talking. Again, this is where it gets a little bit lost in translation.
He couldn't interview Pep.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure he probably does consider himself. Yeah, you've got to back yourself. Absolutely. But he's not saying he's the best manager in the world. Or they've got the best manager in the world here. It's more the case of
the job.
Yeah, the best man. They said they got the best man, and to be fair, that is a sentiment I think that is shared by quite a lot of people. But it is just a remarkable quote, isn't it?
It's brilliant. I think it's brilliant. I think it's refreshing, and I think actually where we felt quite sorry for Ten Hag, we've used phrases like hanging out to dry, doing things behind his back, being deceitful, not being loyal, no loyalty. All of these types of phrases that we've used in sort of describing how Erik ten Hag's been treated in this process, because as it started to go on, we started to feel really sorry for him. Before the cup final, all he's got is his job's gone. After the cup final, he's got the cup in his hand, basically. Your job's gone. A few weeks later, it's radio silence. He doesn't know anything.
Hope to see you next season.
Yeah. So we started to turn a bit and say, this is actually really bad on him. But actually, like I said, when it came out that they've made their process, they've done their process, and that's the conclusion they came to. Remember, I said I started looking at it differently. I started going, well, they were right to go round the houses and sound out everybody to leave no stone unturned before making sure they want to stick with Erik. That's the new people's job to do that. If that makes people feel upset, if that's not quite nice, unfortunately, it's business, and unfortunately, it's decision making at the highest level. It can be quite ruthless. Do I think there was things along the line in the process of how they did it that could have been a bit different? Absolutely. But really, like I said, I did my full view on it, my Flex's view of like, actually, you know what? They've done it right. And actually, we didn't know. We didn't know what they were, which is how it's supposed to be. And Erik basically is like, well, yeah, I know it's easy. We could say, well, of course, he's saying that now because he's happy because he was the one who got the job. But at the end of the day, it seems like, it is what it is. You have to move on. And it is that. And lastly, I would say, before we do the other quotes, is yes, absolutely. I like the fact that he's done it and it's refreshing. Like you say, it is over to him though, because once you have said that, you're in not massive trouble, but you are going to get embarrassed if like we're terrible and he's gone by November. Like people will also drag that quote up to say, remember he said this in June. So it is, but that's it. But exactly, I don't really care about that. I'm happy that he that he's done that. Also, someone said, SLD says, there's no ink in Flex's pen. It just adds a bit of spice. There is ink in this pen, and I will prove it to you now.
Why did that rattle you?
I don't know.
Of all the things that we're called on a daily basis, you took exception to my pen doesn't have ink in it.
There is ink in my pen, and I have these. Whenever KG annoys me or someone annoys me, they get a Fleck card, that they gave to me on Saturday Social. I'm not pretentious. I haven't made these of myself just to see myself, right? And what I do, I was going to say during the breaks, just sometimes keep myself. Or maybe I've got ADHD. I don't know. I just color things in with my pen. Actually, yeah.
I can't really see it.
Yeah, see that with my pen.
Oh, there I can see it. Yeah.
I just color things in with my blue pen, so there is ink in there. It's not just for spice.
Well, it's nice to see that you're riveted. You're riveted by the show. Immediately, once he stops talking, he just goes.
It's my coping mechanism. Listen, there's thousands of people watching this stuff. It makes me nervous. I need like a comfort. I need a thing,
Well, there you go.
It's my coping mechanism. Yeah.
Well, moving back to the quotes, he was asked about the contract, a new contract. Of course, he's going to be staying, and by staying, they're going to offer him a new deal, possibly a restructuring of his position. And he was asked about this, and this got a lot of people talking to Flex actually when it comes to. It's maybe not so straightforward as we think, because Erik ten Hag said Manchester United and I still have to find an agreement for the new contract. This isn't easily done. We're still going to have to talk about this, which again was quite interesting because lots of people then because he's staying, and we've heard that David Ornstein go, he's staying. They're not looking at anyone else. Review completed. Eric's going to be the manager. We just go, why is that then? New contract. He's going to get offers, new contract, and he's going to stay, right? And it's not to say that he's not going to stay. But I kind of thought about this during the match view last night for the England game when the quotes were coming out. And I thought, well, if we're looking at this as essentially INEOS have re-interviewed for this position, you look at all the key positions at Manchester United, chief executive, sporting director, technical director, they've binned off Richard Arnold and John Murto and brought these people in. If they're re-interviewing for this new position, essentially, we're kind of removing the manager job, changing it to like a head coach kind of vibe. Still might be called the manager, but there's going to be different kind of terms and all this kind of stuff. Then that means that the process you have when you're recruiting a manager. So when Erik ten Hag was first recruited, and you've got the club and the manager going back and forth of, well, we really want to do this, and he goes, well, actually, no, I'll only accept that if I can have this, all that kind of stuff. That's happening again. That's happening again, basically. So that part, like when he was at Ajax, Man United go to him and go, we really want you to come in, and he goes, well, look, I'm going to have a veto over transfers. I've seen how you operate. I don't know about that. Really, the same thing's happening again, just with INEOS now at the helm. To become an INEOS guy, well, we've got to recruit you, and we've got to agree to terms that we're happy with. And maybe that's what he's kind of hinting at. I had seen those reports that suggested that, there's got to be a bit of compromise on both sides. I think it was in the Laurie Whitwell article, one of them, and he was sort of saying when they had these talks in Ibiza, there was actually both sides were sort of going, yeah, maybe we could have done this a bit better. Maybe I could have done this a bit better. And yeah, maybe, okay, you can have this, but maybe we kind of do need a bit of this. And maybe that sort of process to agree that new deal and agree that new position might take a little bit longer than we think.
Yeah, I'm going to get super chats read out before we dive into this bit. I know that's funny you said the Tuchel thing, but actually this part is probably the most important. Lil Yo-Yo says, imagine Eric drunk in Ibiza Rock at Craig David concert. Yeah, like TS7, receiving confirmation that he's staying. Unlikely, but a funny image. 100%. I would do everything to bring titles back to Manchester. I'm staying there. On top of someone's shoulders, fucking giving it that would be jokes. That would be jokes. Ryan Sir says, energy of a Champions League winner, skills of a FA pant. What a clown. What, as in, do you prefer Tuchel? Is that what you mean? I think you mean that. Samir says, I think it's a case of wrong choice of words because Ten Hag's English isn't that great. He should have just said, INEOS have shown their faith in me. Yeah, but
the interview wasn't in English. It must be stressed.
Yeah,
it was
true.
That's the key thing that must be said. Like, when you translate things from one language to the other, words can absolutely get lost in translation. Context can get lost in translation. And we also have to understand cultural differences too. Just the way that you maybe converse in another language or another culture can be much more direct. It can be much more blunt. There's a lot less maybe nuance or what have you. So sometimes when we see, this always gets players in trouble too when they go on international duty and they say something in their native language, and then we translate and go, I can't believe they said that. And they come back and go, well, I don't think I said anything that bad. That kind of thing. That always happens. So I think we have to be
it's all about
the
intention as well as the translation into our language. Also the intent and the context of interviews when they go off, and speak in their native tongue. 100%, you've got to take all of those into consideration. Divyank says, hi Flex, appreciate all the work you're doing. Thank you, appreciate that. All of us here are doing loads. Why most TV pundits, including ESPN, is saying United fans don't know anything and retaining Erik ten Hag is a big mistake. Probably want us to fail.
Bunch of big bloody haters. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Kenny Fan TV says Ten Hag said the INEOS have shown some faith in me. So he did say that as well, apparently. So yeah. Right, let's get into that bit. The last bit what Owen just said in the quotes in terms of, this is not easy to do. We still have some details to basically to thrash out. And I agree. You're 100% right, Owen, for me. Like, they are renegotiating the terms of which he is the manager. And we spoke about this, didn't we, in the lead up to when we still didn't know. We were like, well, if he does stay, because you was big on this new contract. And it's like, if he does stay, what does it look like? If they want to change him from manager to head coach, if they want to strip back some of his obligations or some of his powers or give him more powers or access in other areas, how is that reflected within a contract that you signed under a different regime that gives you all the veto and power of the stuff that you wanted then? He kind of must sign a form of new contract from both parties, because if you carry on, that's INEOS basically saying, well, on actual physical paper, like they say in life, if it isn't written down, it didn't happen. We want you to stay as manager under these potentials. So when it gets to the summer window, he's going to go, yeah, I want bloody this kid from Holland that I've seen, and I want this guy, I want that guy. And INEOS is saying, no, we're not doing things like that. So Erik is going to have to fall back on some things and push back on some others, and so are INEOS. And he is right. This bit's not simple to do. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I don't envisage Erik ten Hag's going to say, well, you know what, we couldn't come to an agreement, so I'll just go into my final year of the contract as is. Like, we'll see how it goes. That won't happen. I think they will do it. But he is right. It's not as easy as like just giving him a quick extension to show that they're backing him. That's one side, because by him signing it, it would show that. But secondly, we can't forget this bit that, like, business-wise, they actually do have to do this if they want him to stay. They have to make it on their terms, and he has to accept it, but also push back on some of the things he doesn't want to budge on.
Yeah, this is why I say that they basically re-interviewed for the position, because they're doing now what they would have been doing with a new candidate or a new hire anyway, which is, okay, this is what your remit's going to be. This is what we're going to control. This is what you're going to control. And maybe it's a little bit different because the guy's already there, but you're kind of tweaking those things, changing those things. So yeah, that is going to take a little bit. That is going to take a little bit of time. I don't suspect, super long. And as we've seen, the concern maybe a couple of weeks ago would have been, is this going to negatively affect transfers and what have you? Clearly not, because we've already put in bids in for players at the moment. So that is kind of already happening in general. But I think I'm glad that he mentioned that, because maybe it is something that we just hadn't considered. Because when you do just see a report go, talks under a new contract are underway, you just go, well, that's going to happen then really, really quick. But it is the whole process. Like I said, when it comes to this whole thing, it is somewhat unique and it is somewhat different, because it's not just simple as, oh, we're going to give you a pay rise and the existing terms are exactly the same. They're really renegotiating that position. So because of that, things are going to be a little bit different. So yeah, I think that is definitely something to consider. A couple more quotes from this. So once again, this is one people got really carried away from. So he was asked, did they call you about keeping the job? And Erik ten Hag said they flew to meet me, or flew to me in Ibiza, which had been widely reported. He was on holiday and they met him and they had this interview. This was something that also, Flex, was very interesting. Then maybe this kind of was a little creak in the door, maybe about some of his frustrations and how INEOS have operated throughout this process. He said,
I haven't seen these. I haven't seen these ones.
Yeah. He said, INEOS took their time. They are new in football, which, by the way, they're not, but they're new in football. It's normal to reflect the season. It's no secret that they talked with multiple candidates. And the journalist or the interviewer says, but how is it for you to hear this? And he said, here in Holland, this is not done. In fact, it is not even allowed here. But in England, they have different rules and laws.
Oh, I did see this actually. I lied actually. I did. Yeah, I did see this. Yeah.
Is that
When you
a
read it
little...
after that first one, it's a little dig. It's a little dig, but also though, I'll back Eric on this.
Was
Man,
it
I'm just
cultural
in that mood.
differences as well? Just sort of going...
Exactly that. He's saying, listen, if I was manager of Ajax and they wanted to get rid of me, that's not allowed here. You can't go around and speak to about 8 people and come back to me and say, "Oh, we've decided." That's not what it is. But also, there's an acceptance, which again, I don't want the snowflake around this. I like this, but here it's different. There are different laws. It works different, and I am managing in this country, so I accept that this happens in this country, which I didn't know as well. You learn something new every day. I mean, he's claiming that. It'd be interesting if any Dutch football fans are watching or any people of knowledge of that league. He's saying that basically you can't do that. It's not allowed.
Or employment law in both countries.
Employment law, exactly. There's a lot of laws from government that actually just nothing to do with football. It's just all over. If you want to replace somebody in that, there could be different things that the Dutch FA have. Of if a man, like the managers something association, we have LMA in it. No, what is it? PFA.
Yeah, LMA.
Yeah, LMA. So their version of that might have rules that go with their Dutch FA that say, if a job's available, this is how you must do it. So, and Erik ten Hag clearly must know what he is talking about because he's willing to say it there and he's comfortable saying it. No problem. Absolutely. I like seeing this just black and white. There's no grey. I'm not misconstruing what you're saying. You're down the line. I prefer it. I think it's refreshing. And again, I don't hear him say that and be like, "Oh my God, he's the bit about they're new in football." Does he mean they're new to this level of football? No disrespect to Nice. Does he mean Man United? They're new to the Premier League. They're new to. Well, he said new to football, really, didn't he? But maybe that's a little bit. You can decide. You can sit and get a magnifying glass and go, "Oh, I tell you what, though." Well, they took over Nice in 2000 or whatever. They're not actually new. He's having a dig. Or you could say, look, they ain't been at Man United or a club this size before. This is a new stratosphere. What do they call it? Oranges.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, that one. But there's another one I want to say. What's the oranges one? Peeled oranges. Help me out, Owen. You know sayings. 6 of one, half a dozen is the easiest one. There's another one. What is it?
I don't know. I'm just thinking now horses for courses.
Horses for courses. Apples and oranges.
Apples
there
and oranges.
You go. Yes. Black and more just help me out there. Apples and oranges, exactly.
But that's things that you can't compare. That's things you can't compare, isn't it? It's like comparing apples to oranges. They're two different things.
Wrong context. Yeah. Apples and oranges. But I'm saying you can compare this. 6 to 1, half a dozen.
But what's interesting is Manish in the chat says, except they don't normally do that here either. That is a bit of a misnomer because how many times in the Premier League have we seen teams that go, so-and-so is going to be sacked, but an announcement was not made because they're talking to other people first.
Always happens.
Because someone gets sacked and then go, and so-and-so is going to be coming in. Like it does happen quite often, actually. More when you do take a step back, it does happen actually quite a lot. Maybe not so much in sort of the larger teams. I know Chelsea have done it quite a few times where their manager's going, but they're waiting for the new manager to agree terms with the new manager. But again, maybe that's maybe that's just the sort of him going, well, no, I'm used to that not happening. It does happen a lot of the time in England. Whatever, and this was my sort of general sentiment last night. I don't know how you feel about this, Flex, but again, he had to talk to the media at some point. If it wasn't here, it was going to be in a press conference. It was going to be in an interview. So these difficult questions, or it's going to be with Sky when we have our first match of the season that's televised. Like these questions are always going to come up. So this stuff's always going to come out. But I am at a bit of a point when I'm just like, it's happened. I just want to now look forward. You know what I mean? I just want to look forward. I just want to look forward to the season, the transfer window. He's in the job. That's what, that's what it's got to be, Yeah.
Yeah. Witterberg says, Flex, you don't mind INEOS breaking cultures and respecting the country that Erik ten Hag comes from? Question. No, I'm a bit confused what you're asking me there, Vic. No, what I'm saying is that I think Eric is the one who's appreciating that he manages in England, and that's how it works here. So I don't think.
And you'd be, to be fair, you'd be pretty naive if something's happening that does happen often in the country you work in and go, well, where I'm from, it doesn't happen, so you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Then you have to be like, well,
I work here. That's how it.
Yeah,
That's how it works.
that's how it
If
is.
INEOS, it would be different if INEOS took over Ajax and treated Eric like this.
Exactly.
But
They would be
I'm not.
breaking some law,
Yeah.
according to Eric.
So Vicky, I do. I'm not saying. I'm not saying that I like INEOS breaking cultures. Unless I've read your question wrong there, Vicky. I don't know. I don't know if. I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. But what I mean is basically, in layman's terms, is Eric understands that he works in this country and that is how it works here. So the fact he's been treated in this way or been part of this process, he's at peace with that. And says there are different laws here where we are in Holland. If this happened in the Netherlands, I would, that's not how it works here. So that's what.
Yeah, it's not even like, again, he might be like, the way I certainly read it, and him going, look, it's not ideal, and it's not maybe the way that I would do it, but I'm not from England, and I'm gonna work in England, and it is what it is. As he said, they said they come to the best manager, so I'm sure he's probably fine with the outcome of it. Certainly, a couple more quotes. This was more about sort of England, but it's interesting because he mentioned some Man United players. First of which, Marcus Rashford, when he was talking about the squad, England squad, he said Grealish and Rashford were both lacking this season, and when you are lacking, you risk not getting picked for your country. And I thought that might be the first time that I've heard him not say negative about Rashford, but I mean, a couple of times in press conferences, he said the whole, like, Marcus knows he needs to do better, and towards the end of the season, he kind of, when he was getting asked questions about Rasmus Højlund, wasn't he, and about adding Højlund to the squad, he went, well, last season we had a player that scored 30 goals, and if you had a striker to that, I think it would have been no problem. So maybe there were some sort of subtle nudges towards the end of the season about Marcus Rashford. What did you make of maybe his little comment about that there?
Spot on. I think during the season, you have to remember that he needs him. He's relying on him to get the reaction out of him day by day on the training ground. And we all have a sort of insight into how we think Rashi responds to criticism, or, you read the piece with Laurie Whitwell and Adam Crafton about how Eric Ten Hag's managed certain players. That piece definitely gives you an insight into how Rashford retains information, how he likes to be coached. And it suggests in that piece that they were overloading Rashford a bit with too much, micromanaging him, showing him loads of clips, telling him loads of info. And basically the piece was saying that's not how he likes to be managed. And then he had a long talk with Sir Dave Brailsford as well at his own request. So there's loads going on there about why that gave me an insight. Seeing the contrast between that, what Ten Hag said on TV, and what he says in the presses when the game's coming up, I can completely see why he's not going to do that. He has a bit of like in the pressers with Rashi when talking about, he has like a bit of a shit sandwich, doesn't he? So he starts off with something good and says, I know he's capable, he's this, that, and the other. Then he'll say the shit bit of like, but of course he knows he needs to raise his levels. It is up to him. It is up to every player to do that. Then he goes, but we know it's in there. He's a talented player, and we know he can do it. So I think the fact that it's nothing to do with the season and he's not with Rashi, and it's fine. He can just say, he doesn't have to dress that up. Yeah, he drops his levels, and if you do that, you're always going to be at risk of not going to a tournament. Simple. Him and Grealish.
Yeah.
It's facts. It's facts.
Yeah.
It's not lying.
It is. And I think like I said, it's the difference in tone between, like I said, when you're in the middle of the season and you're trying to get something out of the player, whereas when it's post-season and you sort of can speak maybe a little bit more freely on certain aspects, is very, very interesting. But I thought that was quite curious talking about Marcus Rashford there. And finally, the last quote from this sort of batch of quotes led to a lot of people thinking it was a dig at Gareth Southgate. One of the people maybe linked to replace him. But then some people were saying that this was Eric Ten Hag's tactics. He said after the game, it's the vision of the manager, Southgate. England will take a 1-0 lead. Then he decides to start gambling and making his team compact and relying on moments for the remaining minutes of the game.
Now, I didn't see this.
Yeah. And then people started going, oh, Eric, that's just you. Or he's only saying that because Southgate was linked to the job or whatnot.
Oh, no.
First of which, yeah, he's not wrong.
He's right.
He's not wrong in what his assessment is. You can say hypocritical and all that kind of stuff, but park that's one side. He is not wrong about Gareth Southgate. That England performance last night, and we'll touch on it in a second when we talk about Cobby, but I was on this very channel last night screaming at points about substitutions, about stuff that didn't work, trying to be too smart and what have you. I mean, flex, like we're being compact, trying to see the game out, last-ditch tackles against Serbia. No disrespect to them, but this is meant to be this all-dominating, conquering England side that, to be honest, a pretty even game, wasn't it? Really? Pretty even.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Listen, you're not wrong on Mr. Southgate and England. Eric is not wrong. He's not wrong. And look, listen, when he says something like that, digging out another manager or talking about, what another manager's tactics are,
That's what
because
he's
he's
there to
obviously
do,
a
isn't
pundit.
it?
Exactly, he's
Pundit,
obviously a pundit. But because he's an active manager right now, even David Moyes, I know he's just left West Ham, but
Yeah, I saw that. It was
say,
interesting.
if you say certain things, they're thinking like you were literally just a manager like you're still in the game right now. So it hits different. It's different if Glenn Hoddle goes on there, or managers from the past who haven't managed in ages go on there. That's completely different. But it's always going to be like, oh, but you did that all last season. Pragmatic. You just relying on moments. Oh, this, that, and the other. And look, people are entitled to have their opinion on what he says, and translating that back to the manager that he is. Obviously, he wasn't asked, what type of manager, how do you do things? He's just observing what he sees at England, and that is what we see. So, yeah. But that is interesting. That is interesting. That again, Dutch TV live. Eric did it. I think he did one of these before. There was a clip going around of him, the way he was talking about football and transitions and this, that, and the other.
Yeah,
he was in a TV studio like that.
I remember that a while
And
ago,
it was really refreshing. Was that before he was our manager? I think it was,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and he was sitting down with, was it Cruyff's son or someone?
I think it was Ruud Gullit. I think he might have been talking
Oh,
to.
yeah, that was it. Yeah, it's a couple of Dutch legends anyway, whoever was around the table. And the way he spoke so refreshingly about things, they did when they're in that environment on their TV, and their TV probably, like I said, has less limits than ours. They just a bit like American TV, where listen, these pundits will go in, they will cuss whoever they need to cuss. They don't care about a player's going to come and say this to me afterwards or the media. They just say it as it is. I think NBA punditry and American sports punditry is the best, because they just say it as it is. I love it.
I'm not sure.
Mate.
I think
I can only speak for NBA then. I don't know much about the others, but
I've got a bit of a thing about American sports punditry. Is I feel like there are, a bit like any sport, there are very good analysts and very good pundits and personalities, but I do feel like there is maybe this forced entertainment as opposed to actual analysis. You know what I mean? Where it's kind of, let's be the loudest person in the room, as opposed to break down the game kind of thing. You know what I mean? Whereas there is an element, I think, of, and maybe I'm wrong here, sort of sports punditry, which is just shouting. You know what I mean? Where you go,
you can't. Obviously, there's certain people who would probably go over lines. I'm not saying across the board. Generally, for me, I like, I don't know, like a Reddick or like obviously Stephen A. or Shannon and Skip or whatever. But like, I get like they can have the entertainment factor of like the battle between me and you, like we're going back and forth. But with that, for me, comes a lot of like breakdown, proof as to why you think that point, the stats to back it up. And they're not afraid. What I do like is they're not afraid, and I think the players get it back, which is why I think it's refreshing, is they're not afraid to say what they truly think about the player and their performance and where they can go. And the players aren't scared to sort of, either whether it's the media in the room with the way they imagine someone like Luckhurst was saying to LeBron, or like someone,
could you imagine
in football terms, as Ty says, in football terms. Okay, imagine it was how it was here, where Samuel Luckhurst is saying to bloody Bruno, Bruno, do you think that was acceptable, how you was today? And Bruno says, I tell you what's not acceptable, the fact that you sit there, you write shit every day, and you talk up this nonsense, and and when I do something good, and when they just say it, like the way they handle, I just love that refreshing nature of it. But you're right, of course, I think with how Americans can be with big personality, it can always boil over to like just mental carnage.
I like, for instance, last night I was watching the BBC coverage, and no disrespect, but Cesc Fabregas was in between Rio and Micah Richards, and Cesc Fabregas was another level,
different level, different
another level above. Whereas Like he was talking in-depth tactics and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, and I suppose it's horses for courses. I think it just depends really what you're looking for, kind of thing. What you're kind of looking
covered
for
everything.
Because
sometimes, and because of how he articulate, because some people play the game at the highest level and understand the game to the highest level, but they can't articulate their experiences and transfer it into like how to. Do you know what I mean?
I can't remember who it was. It was either Rio Mikarinchis, I think, says Fabregas, you ever played with like a young player, you know, talented or as confident as like Bellingham or whatever? He went, Messi. Oh.
Exactly. Think about what you're saying. Think about asking big man big questions. Well, I played with big man. I've played with I have
Messi. Yeah. Lionel Messi.
Yeah. So when you're doing this Jude thing, he's basically saying when you're doing this Jude thing, just before you ask people like me, I'm correct. Like there's levels.
Lionel Messi.
It's like asking someone who played with a young Zidane at Juve or something.
Yeah.
I played with Zidane, mate.
Zidane.
It's true. Different horses for different courses. Let's get to Jack Lynch. Jack Lynch says, just in sunny Mallorca, listening to you guys talk about football, having a full English breakfast, then taking a swim in the beautiful sea. That's what it's about, Jack.
Was it Minorca? Minorca. There you go.
Minorca. Yeah, but don't you call it Mallorca?
Isn't it?
Or is that two separate places?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Minorca and Mallorca.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I did not know that. Wow. I just thought it was the typical English thing where we go, Minorca, but really it's Mallorca, like a Del Boy thing.
I think so, unless I'm mistaken. John can let us know in the chat.
Oh yeah, Mallorca. So the Mallorca one, where it's spelt with the double L. Wow. Interesting. Didn't know that. The Black Crest said, "Come on, Flex." I must be wrong. Minorca is the posh one.
Flexography.
Oh,
flexography.
Minorca's the posh one. So is that the one where you say Mallorca like a Y?
I don't know. I just always, it was two different places. And then when you said they're the same, then I had a bit of element of doubt that maybe I was wrong on that one.
No, don't let me stay new.
I've been to Mallorca. But I know of people that have been to Minorca.
Wow. So Mallorca must be the other one, and Minorca must be how you actually say the other one. They're both different. You learn something new every day, says Joe Blackman. Absolutely. Yes, you do. Well, have fun in Minorca. That isn't Mallorca. Big up to you, Jack. Big up to you. Akash says INEOS have tons of making up to do. Well, I don't. You see that? Yeah.
You're just a sympathizer, Fleck. You're just a sympathizer. Don't say it.
Here's the thing. I don't. What they're trying to undo all of the shit the Glazers have done. INEOS didn't do this. They wasn't here. They didn't run the club into the ground. They didn't make Ed Woodward stay there for that long with Matt Judge and Richard Arnold and John Murtough and make the roof start leaking and not fix it. All they've done since they've come in is put 50 million straight into the training ground, work out how we're going to get a new ground, rip out the people who made the bad decisions, and keep the manager.
And this is where this was my point several weeks ago. Yeah, and we got to be really careful about this. And I understand it's anger, but like you pointed out there, things we've been actively complaining about for years. Bankers are just running the club, blah blah blah. Football people are now in. No investments going in the training ground. 50 million quid, which did come out of Sir Jim's pocket. Also we're going to sort out the stadium, doing all that kind of stuff. And the biggest issue that you're having is that they decided to keep the manager that you did want to stay anyway. And we're just not happy with that process. We're also actively recruiting new players at the moment. So that's when I push back and sort of go, like, kind of spare me that they're just another Glazer. You go, well, they're kind of not. I understand.
They're not.
I'm with you. I'm with you in the frustration of wanted a full sale. Absolutely, I wanted a full sale. Don't get me wrong there. But I think some of the narrative of, like I said, with that of they've got tons of making up to do for what? Again, for the fact that they decided to keep Ten Hag, which is, I'm assuming that's what you probably wanted anyway. Or if you didn't want him, then I don't. This is the other thing. We were complaining for just make a decision. They made a decision, but you got to make up for that now.
Yeah,
you're asking.
It's really weird. Compost Smurf says that they paid off the Glazer credit card debt too. slapped 230 million on that, didn't they, or something like that? They paid off some of that. And big up to David Mateus dos Santos. He says, "Hi everyone, just stumbled upon this channel. Just found it just now. Being Man United, love the show and the topics. I'm a member now. Back Eric Ten Hag, glory, Man United. Glazers out. Everyone, welcome David to the community. Just literally found this channel out of nowhere. So big up to you. Hit the subscribe. Oh, you have hit the subscribe button. You're also a member. Hit the notification button as well, David, so you never miss a show as well. So big up to you. Yeah, big up to you, Akash. But I'm just not sure about the tons of making up to do. Or did you mean the work they have to do is a lot? Because like the Glazers effed it up, so like they have tons of like work to do. But making up,
I'd like to know making up for what?
That, like you messed up and you have to fix it. So yeah, United one says interesting. Let's see him back this talk next season. I guess you're talking about Eric Ten Hag, and absolutely it is over to Eric. Like he has to back this talk. So do INEOS. So do the players. All of them need to be held accountable. Triple S. S9372 says British pundits are disrespectful towards everyone and demand respect in their response. Interesting. We've got nearly 2,500 people watching live as well. 776 likes. I will say this, guys. 1K minimum. Come on, guys. We've got nearly 2,500 people watching. We've got people watching for the first time. We've got people who've become members during the show. We've got all the regulars in here. Everyone is here for these big quotes. Akash says making up to do to Ten Hag. Oh, right. Okay. That changes, what you do, how I read your thing. Missed that bit out, Akash. That's quite a bit an important bit.
But even I wouldn't even say that.
But like,
I would
it's like making up to him in terms of, well, I don't agree with it, but like it's better than saying like the Glazers, like they messed it all up. But yeah, like how do they make up to Ten Hag? They've come in, they've decided who the manager's going to be, they've done their due diligence, they've searched, and now they do have to make sure they give him the tools and the environment.
Both parties have to live up to their word now. So in the same way that INEOS have to back him and deliver in the transfer market, if they're going to take things away from him, they're saying they're going to do them better than he could do them. So we're going to do that. So we want to live up to our end of the bargain. And the same with Eric Ten Hag. Now he's got to live up to his end of the bargain too, win more trophies and make sure we don't have the season that we had in the Premier League last season. But again, that's how football is, isn't it? You know what I mean? You hope you're backed and you hope you deliver.
Exactly, 100%. Keep getting the likes up, guys. We're 840 pretty much. So come on, let's go. Let's get that 1K in the bag. Right, let's do some of the sort of good positive stuff, the fun stuff. Kobe made his first competitive debut at a big tournament.
Yep, came on last night. Was very happy for him. To be honest, with the team selection, I know it would have been actually a legitimate discussion that he should have started, considering Gareth Southgate's Trent Alexander-Arnold experiment in midfield failed spectacularly, in my opinion. And to be honest, Flex, this probably segment is just for me to actually vent about England again, really. Obviously, England won. From the Manchester United point of view, as you mentioned, Kobe came on. What season? I mean, beginning of the season, first of all, he's injured at the beginning of the season, but I bet he thought, oh, I'm definitely not going to make the Euros for England at the end of the season.
I don't even think he even thought about getting the Euros.
No, exactly.
And in the England team, I don't think he thought he'd get a debut.
Exactly. So that's, phenomenal. Luke Shaw was on the bench. Eric Ten Hag did say in that interview that he thinks that Shaw isn't going to be available until after the group stages. And when Kieran Trippier went down last night with cramp, I think some people were like, oh, is he going to come on? All that kind of
stuff. Good morning. Great show. Get the lights up.
I did quite well on that one. I interrupted myself. I was very pleased by that. Ferris in the chat. Ferris in the
that
chat.
was good.
Ferris in the chat.
Recognize him. Acknowledge
exactly.
him.
Acknowledge him. Yeah, and as he says, get the likes up indeed. If Nubian Pharaoh says get the likes to 1,000, who knows what he'll do.
Exactly.
when we get that. Well, he's a man of his word. But yes, we're just with England. Obviously very happy we won. They did this last time when we won in the first Euros game. They like to point out that we never really win the first game in the Euros anyway, like 10 times. I think it was only last time we did it for the first time.
Gareth, see?
And all that. But make no mistake, Flex. I don't know how many years has it been at this point, but from 3 years ago, from the last Euros, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
It has. We've got better players. We've got more. We've got
it's
more.
not.
Like,
It is
Bellingham.
the same.
Bellingham. That's changed.
It's the same.
He's the man.
It's Gareth Southgate doing his best Pep Guardiola cosplay of tactics, which is, I think they play possession football, so I'm going to play possession football, which is pass it sideways over and over and over and over again and create next to nothing. I'll tell you what as well, because I'm smarter than everyone else. I'm smarter than everyone else, so I'm going to play Trent in midfield, right? And also, I'm going to be disrespectful to Serbia by doing that, because that was the narrative before the game. Before the game, the narrative was, well, you can get away with that in the group stage against lesser teams. Yeah, I didn't see us getting away. I didn't see us getting away with that last night. And again, why are we trialing this now? Why are we experimenting in the first game of an international tournament when we've got actual midfielders on the bench? Proper midfielders. We got Copy. We got Conor Gallagher. We got Wharton. We got like actual midfielders on the bench. And we're going, no, we're going to get Trent in the team. And then guess what? Looks pretty uncomfortable playing in midfield because he's a right back. He's a right back playing in midfield. But it's all right. We can do it against the lesser teams against Serbia. Actually, no, we can't. And also, even if we could, we're only going to be able to do it for a couple of games. We're going to be in the knockout stages after that.
Yeah,
it is
and then
stupid.
You can't do it. Yeah,
it is dumb. And then Phil Foden, the concern was like, oh, how's Foden going to do on the left-hand side? Oh, nothing, basically. We've got no left-hand side because he can't really play there that much. Oh, and Kieran Trippier's right-footed left back, so we got nothing there. It's just like, oh, and then on top of that, so you're going, right, okay, I'm all right for an experiment, and if it's not working, but let's make some changes then. Let's make some early changes. Oh, my God, Flex. It's like, I don't know where else. It's like waiting at the post office in line. You're checking your watch and 5 minutes ago. It's going to be now. I swear it's going to be now. He's going to make the change. It just took ages and ages and ages. I watched the Poland game yesterday against the Netherlands. And what really impressed me is it was 6 minutes into the second half and the Poland head coach went, go make some changes immediately. Because it's tournament football. It's tournament football. Things happen quickly. And what Gareth Southgate does is he just waits. He waits for stuff to happen, and they had a couple of chances, and that's when you go against a bigger team, against a better team, against a better coach. That
chance where Trent receives the ball just outside our box and just takes them 2 dead touches, and Mitrovic gets a shot. I dare you to do that to Mbappe, or I dare you to do that to like a deadly striker or a good team, like, and that's not even like he was under loads of pressure.
Give that to Musiala.
Exactly. You know, give that to Bruno and players like that, and around that, you know, and it wasn't even like he was under loads of pressure. Like you said, it's just due to like you don't receive the ball there all the time. Look, if someone sits off Trent, yes, obviously they highlighted that big switch of play that he done. That we don't have anyone who can do that. You know, that's all right the odd time here and there, but against the elite, and no disrespect to Serbia, they're not the elite. You know, it wasn't like Trent was running the show because of his passing ability. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Trent's not, you know, maybe by the time he plays Slovenia, he might be able to look a bit better. So we're going to go see. But like you said, Owen, as soon as we play anyone of note in there, it's not. And Bellingham, I said it before. I said, obviously, with a 10 situation. But if you think where he was playing, he basically played everywhere. He played deeper. He had to because the rest of it was shit. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he can power through. When I'm like, he's wasted in just the 10. I get it because you get goals. You get your goals. Like, so absolutely, he has to arrive late. But I'm saying by just playing him as a 10 and saying like, just stay up there and don't get involved. I'm saying we're actually losing somebody who can win the ball back, who can power through, who can do it all. He can do. He can do a bit of everything. He is. I see Jude. I know we all see him as this like number 10 or 9.5 now, because obviously he's playing just behind Vinny and Rodrigo, which is just unbelievable. And he's getting loads of goals. But in this England team that has the deficiencies that it has, and Gareth won't just have a safe pivot that's really good. He's going to try and mix it up, and our defense is not that great. I want Jude to be able to just do it all and come back into deeper positions, win fouls. He was possessed in the first half. Not getting the ball off me. I'm going to drive through midfield. I'm going to pick the ball off the back 4 and start the attacks as a 6. I'm going to play around the box. I'm going to play a little bit further up as an 8, and I'm going to get goals and arrive late in the box as a 10. I'm going to go. I could do all phases of midfield. I'm going to defensively. I'm going to win the ball back. I'm going to win fouls. I'm going to G up the crowd. I'm going to lead. I'm going to do it all. So this, just get Jude out of the way and just keep him in the box. Well, if we do that, mate, if we did that yesterday and Jude wasn't willing to drop back deep, drive with the ball, you've got Declan Rice, who's, listen, he can get about the pitch, but he's going to be fairly
safe. He did well yesterday. He did well
absolutely. He's going to put out the fires. He had to. You've got Trent that really, unless he like there's a bit of time and space where he can hit a shot from far or pick out a pass, unlock someone, great. But in transitions and, you know, when we don't have the ball, you're going to worry. You know, you've got to protect Gahey. He's young. He's new to this level, and he did well. A couple of passes here and there, but other than that, did really well. So, and Gareth Southgate special, just trying to shoehorn. I just knew there's Foden on the left wing. I don't get it. And just Foden in general for England. This is what I said. I pivoted away from Southgate more to the players, and like Foden has to rise. Like, it's not the same as City where he's getting the ball in the right timings and the right space with the right weight apart. It's completely different to City, and his performances since he's come into the England setup really haven't correlated or transferred over. That's why you got to rate Saka. Anyone who thought about dropping Saka, I know second half he got locked off because give credit to Serbia really. Their left back, left wing back. Kostic was like, all right then. His manager must have said, like, mate, you've been getting done that whole first half. He's rinsed you. And then Saka didn't get a look in the second half. But Saka's impact in the first half and how strong he is, how he takes contact and how goes past people. Brilliant. Foden didn't do nothing.
No, exactly. And I think, like, again, I was big up to Mark Gay because of, like I said, making the step. I thought he looked really composed. And that's what was, again, a bit frustrating. Is there were actually some positive performances there. Like I said, Gay, he played well. Well, defensively, actually, we were fine. Pickford did well. Declan Rice could have got man of the match because he had to do all the midfield work by himself, really, because he was covering for Trent more often than not. And Jude Bellingham, I think the biggest compliment you can give him was the fact that Serbia's game plan for him was to kick him as hard as they could for basically the majority of the game because they just can't, because they couldn't get near him. But again, I just go back to how crazy is it? I mean, you're experimenting in the opening game of the Euros. Isn't that what friendlies are for? Isn't that what, those international breaks are for? And it's not as if, like, well, Flex, we just got no midfielders that we can put in there. So we've got to try, and no one's as good as we've got our squad is. And that's why I didn't get with the subs too. We're waxing lyrical about how many great young players we've got. And just the sort of stubbornness, or not even stubbornness. I don't even think it's stubbornness, because I'll criticize Erik ten Hag for being stubborn because I think he's got an idea in his mind that he wants to do. I think Gareth Southgate is, he just doesn't know what he wants to do.
Yeah, he keeps changing in the mode.
And he just, again, it's just.
Let's be honest. Foden should have come off for Gordon.
Foden should have come off
for
Gordon
or Eze. Whoever you want.
They should have put on, whether it is, Cobby, whether it is Gallagher, whether it's whoever, and a natural midfielder you need in there. I prefer.
Well, as soon as Gallagher came on as well, listen, like we always say about Gallagher, you know what you're going to get. He's an honest player. He wins fouls. He gets about the pitch. He can help you win the ball back. And I think he'll probably. I've got a feeling to go with Gallagher next game.
Well, you know what, it can kind of concern me a little bit. So he went with Gallagher, and when he brought Cobby on, he brought him on for Bellingham. And I thought, does he think then he's going to just be playing Cobby quite far forward? Because one part of it you could make is that, and I get it, the one sort of wrinkle to Cobby's game is maybe defensively. He can be a bit vulnerable.
He can't cover that type of ground. Yeah, he can't.
As much. So I understand that.
That's hanging him out to dry. Cobby needs a runner next to him, or someone who can cover that ground.
If you wanted to, maybe we are playing a Slovenia, just going, well, we're going to have let's just control the ball a bit better in midfield. Then you could do, Declan Rice can do Cobby's running for him, can't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know. I like you said, I was going to say I think Gallagher maybe, but I think he'll stick with Trent again. Which I just
exact same team.
But the problem is you're going to abandon that at one point, because it is what it is. But I don't know. Like I said, my prediction for before the tournament was, I think, quarterfinals maybe at best for England. Obviously, very glad that we won, but it's literally felt like Groundhog Day all over again. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, but. And as you say, and as we're aware, all jokes aside, it's not going to change anytime soon, is it? Game dependent. Who's the next one? Who are we playing?
Denmark next.
Denmark.
Which is actually a massive concern.
I mean,
although to be fair, did you see the Denmark game yesterday?
I did. I did. Especially obviously. Eriksen was prime Eriksen. Jesus.
Well, Christian Eriksen, he plays a lot further forward for Denmark as well. He actually plays in that
free roam.
And it was a fantastic story. I mean, again, 1,100 days to the very day since he collapsed and suffered cardiac arrest in Denmark at the last European Championships. The story just in general was him starting. They were like, and look at him. He's 3 years later, he's playing. And then he scores the opening goal for Denmark. It's just an incredible incredible story. But the match was quite interesting because it was tighter than I thought. And I tell you, who did look a bit deadly. Benjamin Šeško.
Yeah,
I mean, a couple of shots. One he rattled off the bar. Not a bad player. Got a shot.
We know, yeah, we know.
A shot on
a couple
him.
of times, I think Rasmussen build-up looked quite sharp at times,
Mm.
quite physical, which we know about. Look, you expect England to win, not comfortably, obviously.
Well, we played
some
Denmark in the
distribution from
semis.
Schmeichel was really good as well.
Yeah, we played Denmark in the semis at the last Euros, and
yeah,
that was
close.
tough
Yeah,
to get through.
Exactly. So it's never an easy game against them. It's not going to be an easy game. We don't. I know what we did to Iran in the World Cup, but against decent level of European teams, I don't think we particularly have a strong record of just battering them. 4-0. See you later. Bye bye. You've played against England. Hold that. It's not. It'd be like how Serbia it was yesterday. We'll have a difference maker. I mean, look, Harry Kane nearly made it 2-0 yesterday, and if it was 2-0. And he was quiet. Like he said it was more of a game to win some fouls, take the pressure off the team. That's him saying, I wasn't really involved, but I found a way to be smart and calculate and experience, which he did. He weren't getting the ball. We weren't creating. Like I said, we couldn't hold on to the ball long enough in the second half the time. So what do you do when as the minutes tick off? It's tournament football. The most important thing is 3 points. He did use his experience and do the win them striker fouls. Those ones where take a touch, wait for the contact, take the pressure off.
He's done it again.
He's done it again. And then wait for that touch to get that one chance, which he got, which was brilliant from Jarrod Bowen, by the way, since he won. And really, he should have scored. It was a good save from the keeper, but I'd still expect Kane to score that. So that would have been a Kane special. Win some he probably would have got man of the match. Win some fouls, get a goal. But yeah, I think it'll be different against Denmark. I definitely will say that. But wicked for Christian Eriksen, man, to come through that. It was so good to see, and it was in front of his fans as well. Just those players who were in that squad a few years ago and saw what happened to him. For them to just see him running away, and for his family, like his wife and his family, like just. Do you remember those pictures of his wife on the side of the pitch being consoled?
Kasper Schmeichel talking to her. And
I mean, just you imagine seeing your husband, the father of the kid, like just down like that, almost down and out. Like I just can't fathom what must have been going through the head, let alone playing football again. Just the person.
Yeah, and it's a proper. They were saying this on the build-up to yesterday on ITV, and it's so true. It really is. You remember where you were moment when it happened, because it was so startling and shocking. And unfortunately, it's not the first time we've seen something like that throughout football history. But being on such a big stage in his home country, in front of his home fans, and obviously during the time which the pandemic's just sort of coming towards an end, so there's this sort of big festival of football to celebrate, and it just felt like just a horrible moment. And I think there was a story about him sort of saying about keep my boots, I might not need them ever again. And not only is he playing for Manchester United flex in the Premier League, but he's also scoring for his country at the Euros. It's just it's incredible. And when it comes to all of the results, I'll keep the same energy because I watched the Netherlands play yesterday against Poland for one of the match views here, and they didn't completely sort of blow me away. Wout Weghorst, legend. Veggie gets his goal. They weren't great, but it is the most important thing in an international tournament when you've only got 3 games in the group. Win your first game, you're near enough through in this format.
Yeah, and the fact that they drew, we just need to beat them, and then we're in. So just go and get it done. Doesn't matter how. Then the third game, have some experiments if you want. We don't care.
Exactly.
Because then we'll be guaranteed top anyway, so it doesn't matter. Crazy how pundits are fine with Southgate and not Erik ten Hag, says Triple S. And United One says Eriksen, another example, Erik ten Hag not getting the best out of players. Look, yeah and no. I mean, the first season it was fantastic. I think we all saw his drop off when Eriksen was playing. We could see the lack of physicality and the moment where the team was. It probably wasn't best to play him, but when things are set up correctly, I do take that point. Eriksen's a good player. Like he can still manipulate the ball. He's still got a good final ball, good delivery. He's a smart player, but it has to be the right type of game, right type of team as well.
And he did get the best out of Eriksen, didn't he? In his first season, I'd say he got the best out. But you got to remember, free transfer. He's on the wrong side of 30 now.
Yeah.
And he was never sort of blessed with super pace or super sort of legs, really, anyway.
Exactly.
So we can't get too carried away. It's still his future still might be away from United, really. This summer, I wouldn't be shocked if he does go. And we would have got, fair value out of it. A couple of seasons on a free transfer.
Yeah. Exactly.
Fine with it.
Can't say fairer than that. Smash a like on the video, guys. If we get out of here, we did get over 1,000 likes, so big up to every single one of you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. We are on our way to 170. We can't be far off now. I'll tell you what, because we're 169 and a good few hundred. So yeah, that 170 is right there, and then you can say 30k. Road to another 30k to get the 200k in the bag. It'd be a big moment for this channel. Once we get to 200k, so big up to you guys. We want to do that, and thanks for the support. United One says he never tried him out as 10. That's the problem. Yeah, because we've got Bruno, and I think that's valid. But also I will say this, guys. I will be speaking to my good friend Laurie Whitwell, tier 1. Been writing a lot of pieces. I was speaking to him this morning. On the way out, drop some questions in, or in the comment section of this video, drop some questions in of what you would like Laurie to be asked. Obviously, I've got a lot to speak to him about, but it's your show, it's your channel, it's your community. Let us know what questions you'd like to put to Laurie, things you'd like to find out about in reference to some of the articles he's been doing and other things as well. Obviously, he's just done a new article this morning regarding Ten Hag speaking publicly. And talking about the negotiations ongoing over a new contract, and there's still aspects being discussed, details in the background. He's done it in the piece as well, so we'll talk about that. There's loads of stuff that I've got I want to ask him, but if you guys got some stuff as well, let us know. It is your channel. Guys, big up to you. We are out of here.
You missed.
Oh gosh, I've just come through just at the last minute. 24 months of being a member. Actually, let me go up a little bit higher than that. Triple S says Eric making 18-year-olds world stars and people saying he's not getting the best out of players. Yeah, there you go. Shahil says, hi Flex and Owen, have you been to New Zealand? Also, are you guys planning to visit? Man, I feel for you guys. Southgate is wasting such a talented squad. Owen, you ever been to New Zealand?
I have not. I have not been to New Zealand.
No,
although lovely part of the world, though.
Yes, would love to go to New Zealand. United One says he never tried him out as a... Oh, no, I read that one already. So, yes, I think we are up to date. Big up to everyone who's liked the video. Owen, games today, France later on?
Yes, I'm going to be doing Austria versus France. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff, so I'll be live at 7:45 for that one. You can see me scream at the top of my lungs about nonsense.
And you will also see an interview, catch up with myself and Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic as well at some point today. So tune in for that. Do not miss that because... yes, it's going to be a great catch up with him. So lots to talk about there. Take care, guys. We'll see you soon. Peace.